Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in for another exciting edition of the Sean vs. Wild podcast. Just want to take a quick minute to thank everyone again for their support of the show. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and I couldn't be happier with the results so far. If you haven't yet, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe to the show. Give it a 5-star rating if you like it. The show is available on iTunes, Stitcher, SeanVersusWild.com, and you can also keep up with it on Facebook and Twitter at Sean vs. Wild, and on Instagram at Sean vs. Wild Podcast. On today's show, we have Johnny Goebel, a.k.a. Jay Blaze of the Whiskey Riders, talking about their new album, 1865, which is available now on CD, digital download, and vinyl from Eastwood Records. We discuss what 2017 has in store for them, and then we put on our tinfoil hats to discuss some of our favorite conspiracy and fringe topics. Jay Blaze is going to weigh in on his opinion on the world as we know it, and it is sure to be a wild ride. As a guest on the show, I do want to provide a forum for you to express your thoughts and opinions, and while listeners out there may not agree with everything we discuss, it sure makes for interesting conversation. And really, if you're not down with that, I've got 2 words for you. I'm sorry, and I'll try harder next week. So, and guys, if it sounds like I'm losing my voice a little in this intro, it's because, as promised, I did attend the Light Treason's Foxbat show this weekend. Maybe had a little too much fun. And so yeah, Jimmy and the Two-Tone Leg Benders, they blew my mind with some psychedelic rock. Foxbat, loud, energetic, in my face. Sacred Sorrow, coming out of retirement, did not lose a step. They still sounded awesome, and I got a chance to sing along to some of the old songs. And of course, Light Treasons, absolutely fantastic. Melt in My Face sounded great. The new vintage sounds fantastic. Yeah, and I just enjoyed a few Tecates and got to hang out with a lot of great friends. Make some excellent connections and talk with some people about being on the show later. So you guys got to stay tuned for that. And then, yeah, we had everyone over for the after party to tap some Rockies, listen to some music, argue about who's better. And then just like Snoop Dogg, the party did not stop until 6 in the morning. So I may have had a good time with some great friends. Sorry, not sorry. And speaking of great friends, I do want to give a big shout out to Joe Brock, not only for being the guest on my show last week, not only for hitting me with those sick riffs this weekend, but also for his help on the Sean vs. Wild podcast. Joe has been assisting me in the post-production of the show, being the man behind the curtain, the guy that fixes all my mistakes and makes me sound so good. So Joe, big thank you to you and for all that you do. And we definitely appreciate it. Guys, that's all for me. Cue the music, and let's get wild. You got to say something cool first.
That's a lot of pressure.
I know.
That's a lot of pressure. But you know what pressure does? Pressure breaks diamonds.
That's true, man.
Pressure makes diamonds. Sorry.
It breaks diamonds. Yeah. It probably will break it.
Yeah. You put it in a press specifically made for crushing diamonds.
Yeah, that's it.
The pressure would crush the diamonds.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Sean vs. Wild podcast. I am your host, Sean Thriller Smith. At my house today, we are back at the bar, and I've got Johnny Goebel, a.k.a. Johnny Blaze of the Whiskey Riders. You're singer, guitarist, and you rip the banjo. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep, and on that brand new record, 1865?
1865.
It was a good year. What's the significance of the year 1865 for you or for life?
America in general? It is actually the year that the Emancipation Proclamation went through. Slavery was abolished. And black men were free, sort of. And then Jim Crow and all. We're not going to get all that stuff. But yes, that was a very monumental year in the history of our country.
Well, that's fantastic. And you're kind of... from what I've heard, listening to the album, it's like you're embracing your heritage and things like that more on the album as well.
Oh yeah. It's one of those things where we realize that there's not many bands out there that have a half black singer and a half Native American singer.
Right.
So might as well embrace the differences,
Well, especially with your band being like very much like roots rock or like a kind of slice of Americana, very folk. That's, when it comes to the history of this country, you know what I'm saying? Like,
true, yeah.
So,
and one of those little facts that people, once they hear it, they like to repeat it all the time. Banjo was invented by who? You should know this, right?
I'd have no idea.
Black people. I don't think there's like...
Well, it's general.
Yeah,
I thought you were like,
in a general
what's that
sense.
man's name?
Yeah, it wasn't George Washington Carver or anything like that. He didn't invent the banjo. He invented everything else for black people. But it's an African instrument.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's why I take it like a duck out of water or duck in water. Duck in water, right? Well, duck out of water works too because they can fly and walk.
So ducks are versatile, man.
Yeah.
They're versatile animals.
Yes, sir. And actually, we were in Gatlinburg, and we were playing a show at Sugarland Moonshine Distillery, and we've done this at a couple other places too. But I like to ask the crowd if they know the significance behind the date of 1865, and not one person has answered the question right yet. They didn't have Twitter back then either, so
that's true.
They can't go back and look at archived tweets.
Archived tweets. So, Johnny, you're playing guitar, you're singing, and you're doing the banjo in the Whiskey Riders. And most people, I guess I would feel that would listen to this podcast know that you and I have played together. It's just like it's a recurring theme, I think, on this show. I get people that we've played together before.
Hey, yeah.
So I get my friends on here to talk about it. I have a lot of creative and musical friends. And I've known you for a long time, just like everybody else it seems like I've talked to.
Yeah.
I've known you since I was like 18.
Over 10 years?
Yep.
I was thinking about that the other day.
So
Tears Like Bullets.
Tears Like Bullets and My Finest Hour playing together.
PJ's Bakery.
PJ's Bakery. I put on those shows for sure. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because growing up, I feel like everybody maybe played like pop punk or emo or that kind of sound. And you have really like went a totally different direction,
right,
with the music that you're making. What made you decide to kind of go off into another outlet for the music, I guess, or go off in a different direction?
I think it really started when I started camping a whole lot,
right,
and playing around the campfire. Emo, indie songs like that don't necessarily translate so well to one person, one acoustic guitar.
Right.
So even at the beginning of the Whiskey Riders, on our first album, none of that stuff really translated well to the acoustic guitar, because we were just like, let's be He Is Legend,
right,
with a stoner edge to it.
Yeah. It was like southern rock, dirty vibe to it.
Yeah. But then at some point after that, we realized that that if you think about timeless music,
right,
you think about the 60s and 70s, and, well, not just if it's timeless, it doesn't matter what era it's from. You can always pick up an acoustic guitar by yourself and play the song.
Right.
And, 10, 20, 30 people are going to listen to you.
Right.
And sing along,
right,
with you. So it was more to cater towards being able to play around a campfire, I guess.
Have a sing-along.
And be able to have a sing-along, yeah. Because I've always tried to write music for people to sing along with, real hooky stuff, from the Dave Grohl school of rock,
Yeah.
That guy says if you
that
don't
Hey
have...
Jude moment, that's kind of like how I picture it, that bridge or that outro to Hey Jude, where everybody's just losing, they're going ham.
La, 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 yeah.
Tiny Dancer, like, once that chorus hits, people are going ham singing the chorus of Tiny Dancer.
Exactly, yeah.
Or Don't Stop Believing.
Right.
Everywhere I go for years, at least once a day, I hear Don't Stop Believing, whether it's a convenience store or on the radio or at a bar.
And you get pumped up, right?
I used to get pumped up. Now I tolerate it.
Yeah, right. Or Kiss from a Rose.
Oh, well, that's a good one.
Yeah. We'll talk about hooks and just timeless, songs,
Seal has an amazing voice.
Yeah.
If you ever want to see, like, really... how awesome Seal is, if you check out the Freddie Mercury tribute concert that was from like 91.
Ooh.
He's on it.
Right.
And I mean, it's not Seal like you're used to seeing him. He's got like long hair and everything, and he's wearing like small little sunglasses.
I don't know why that sounds so funny to me.
But he sings Who Wants to Live Forever, and it's absolutely just mind-blowing. Like, the guy has... I mean, he's always been powerhouse vocalist, great songwriter,
right,
great everything. So
I mean, he was able to, snag supermodels with a burnt up face. So I mean, the dude's got golden pipes that just make it work.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
So what? You got the new album that came out. You said it came out October. We were talking earlier. You said October 7th.
October 7th, yeah.
And you got married on October 15th.
Yes, sir.
So you have been having one hell of an October.
Oh, yeah. And then a bunch of shows, and then November was the what's that called? Honeymoon.
Yeah. How do you say honeymoon?
Yeah. How do you say we went to Disney World and it was crazy? Loved it. Loved Disney World. Epcot.
Right.
Epcot.
Whenever I was a kid, Epcot, I was so excited. I was like, man, this gigantic like ball, silver ball, I got to go in it. And then whenever, of course, I went to Epcot in 1991 when I was 5 years old. So I remember going there like, man, this is boring. This is about like energy conservation.
That ride is so slow. It's like you could get out and walk faster than the ride. It was.
But it's good to know that it's on its way up, man.
It's the same, exactly the same inside. But now that you're older, you have more appreciation for that type of stuff. So I mean and they got this one ride there. God, I can't Planet Earth or something like that. Beyond something, I can't remember. But it was like a G-force ride where Lieutenant Dan is actually in the intro video, and
the actual lieutenant,
Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump,
Gary Sinise,
is coaching you and telling you that this ride is about to be crazy.
And change your socks.
Yeah, change your socks, and you might throw up. There's actually vomit bags in there, and you sit in, and it's like you sit in a cockpit with three other people, and it's one of those rides. It's basically like the teacups. Only you're inside this thing, and you got the screen in front of you, and it's using these G-forces to like lift you off from Earth, and you're flying around, and you land on Mars, Destination Mars. I think that's what it was called. I can't remember, but we walked out. Me and Maggie walked out, and I swear to God, it took us like an hour and a half to get our bearings back. It was brutal, but it was the coolest thing. And then Epcot itself is just, man. I'm not trying to make a commercial for Disney right now.
I'm not sponsored by Epcot.
We could cut all this. Well, Disney's done things with the copyright laws and stuff like that I don't personally agree with, but I put my beef aside for a few days.
My honeymoon for my wife.
Yeah.
To make sure she gets the kimono that she wants from Disney. She told me that she got the kimono that she wanted.
Exactly.
So, fantastic. Okay, so now it's 2017.
Yes, sir.
Brand new year.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys got coming up?
Well, we are going to attempt to do things a little bit differently than we've done in the past, and the way a lot of bands have done things in the past, because we feel like, and I personally feel like, you can go out and you can play a show in front of 30 to 50 people on tour for 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And say you do 12 shows, 50 people a show, 600 people, right? With the internet today, you can put a live broadcast out there and broadcast yourself to, a few thousand people,
right,
by staying put. So we're actually going to be looking at doing the live broadcast thing with a more produced, you got to see this type of event, put an event together, have more than one camera, hook up to a soundboard, really make a produced work out of it. You know what I'm saying? So I think we're really going to embrace the internet like, we did back when, mp3.com and MySpace came out back in like 02 and 03.
Right. Pure volume.
In pure volume, yeah. It was like, it blew people's minds. It was like, oh, I can go on here and I can stream this music. This is crazy. So now that video is taken off and bandwidth is so crazy, people can and live stream from anywhere, we're going to make a really good production out of it. So that's one thing we got coming next year. We're going to be doing some, I don't want to say secret because we haven't thought of exactly what we're going to do yet, so it's not really a secret.
It's a cult.
Yeah, exactly.
We have some occult things that are coming.
The cult of the whiskey riders, yep. Communion is 3 shots of whiskey in the morning, lunch and dinner.
And dinner.
Yeah.
It's 9 shots total.
Yep.
And then you party afterwards.
Yep, it's pretty much it. I mean, so I don't know if it's as much as a cult as it's going to be a bar.
Gotcha.
But besides the live streaming, we do plan on getting out and playing some good shows and putting together some really good music videos right now. Man,
it's working smarter, not harder. And that's touring and stuff like that, grinding for weeks at a time. It's exactly, at least for me, at my level, whatever level of success I ever achieved, it was every day is a crapshoot. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's 20 people. Sometimes it's, 100 people. Sometimes it's, the bartender.
Right.
So yep. I don't blame you, man, for wanting to work.
We played a show in Nashville last year, and we got hotel rooms and stuff. The owner of the label thought it was going to be this awesome show in Nashville and stuff. It was, the Springwater Supper Club. And Jimi Hendrix played there back in the day, and what was that? Kesha did a couple music videos, and Black Eyed Keys played there back in the day.
Black Eyed Peas or the Black Keys?
The Black Keys, yeah, sorry. The Black Eyed Keys, yeah.
It was a mix-up. It was one night only.
Super group. But we showed up and like, okay, there's nobody here. Well, maybe they're just waiting for the doors to open. Doors open, nobody came. So we played and looked out, and I was like, okay, well, at least there's this one old man at the bar rocking out. And then halfway through, I was like, his eyes are closed. Maybe he's just really appreciating the music. So when we get done, dude didn't move for like 20 minutes. Like, oh, shit, that dude's asleep. Oh, can I cuss?
Yeah, you can say asleep if you want. This is the internet. This is not the radio.
That show was, we'll say, a wash. It was nice to play in Nashville. We'll say that. But, playing in front of one or two people, it can, being a crapshoot like that, if you're putting your life on the line, especially as an adult now, we're not 18, 19, 20 anymore, where you can get in a van and just pop in some ramen and stuff. It's just like, man, I got a couch at home.
Yeah. Well, and you got a family to support. And
family
like
too.
Family too. Yeah, I mean, that is when you do get older, that is a problem. Like working for peanuts is, it doesn't pay the bills.
Right.
So.
Sometimes passion can only take you so far when it comes to repeated failures, I guess, if you want to say that. So that's why you got to basically I don't want to say we're going to reinvent the wheel this year, but really, like you said, work smarter, not harder.
You just grind it a little bit more of a creative way.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with going out there and making it happen, and you got to go out there and make it happen. But if you can, with the internet, if you can harness that, and I mean, that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast, even just, of course, try to put it, I put it on the internet. I didn't put it on cassette. We're not doing this interview on my Talkboy tape recorder, I'm not
going to be so hip.
That would be the coolest thing.
Just so hipster.
The Sean vs. Wild podcast. Hi kids, we're home early. We're going to put it on the slow setting.
Right.
But you're to get back to the Whiskey Riders, the big thing for me anyway, and the big thing I wanted to talk about, or one of the big things I wanted to talk to you about, is you released 1865 on vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
And I have been listening to it. We fired up the record player.
All right.
And it sounds fantastic on vinyl. I think you guys have a sound that just complements that kind of feel perfectly.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So when is that release? Has it been released yet?
You can find it on EastwoodRecords502.com. Purchase $20 for the most beautiful vinyl that you could even think of. It looks like Jupiter. Some people say a bowling ball, but it looks like Jupiter.
It's a beautiful red,
orangish yellow. It's got specks of brown in it. We only picked 2 colors. I don't know how it's got 4 colors in it. It's crazy.
The color wheel is
right.
Sometimes the wheel of fortune, spins your way.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and on that note, I'm going to go ahead and play a track off of the new album, a track that is called Freedom.
Yeah.
And that was the big standout track for me when I listened to the album. That intro is very powerful. What can you tell everybody about Freedom before we listen to it?
Well, Freedom, I guess, is an amalgamation of, good rock with the banjo in it and stuff. There's a cool breakdown at the end where the song just completely switches. But really the big selling point for the song Freedom is it's a old slave hymnal that they used to sing in the fields that I found on the internet. I was searching, I needed some inspiration, and they used to sing the song Freedom in the fields. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. And I could just imagine, my people out there, but I could just imagine them out there in the fields, just basically literally slaving away and singing this song. And I wanted to at least bring it back, Right. And it is a B-side, but I'm really proud of it. I really do love the song. And I don't think it's really going to get any radio play. We're not going to really try to push it for the radio or anything like that. But it's one of the songs that I'm most proud about.
Yeah, and it's your show. And like I said, this is a standout one for me. So it might be a B-side, but that B-side, someone might flip that album over, flip that record over. So, all right, guys, this is going to be Freedom by the Whiskey Riders.
Freedom, freedom, freedom over me. And before I be a slave,
right, everybody. That was Freedom by the Whiskey Riders. A very powerful message. And I even wrote in my notes here, when you said before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave. And then also, too, it says before I lose my head, I'd be buried with the dead. And I feel like that line is more relevant now than ever.
True.
And you and I have a big interest in like kind of fringe topics, I should say.
True. Yeah.
So, let's go ahead and explore that.
Right.
You know? I know we've talked before. We're like, man, we should just have our own show where we're literally just talking about, I don't want to say conspiracy theories, but like conspiracy, corruption, and it might not even be a theory, really. But we have interest in these sort of topics.
I mean, even the term conspiracy theory is a conspiracy theory in itself.
Man.
You
just Alex Jones me, dude.
Right? I got the documents.
We got the documents. We got the documents. People. So
now, during the Vietnam War, CIA put out a memo. I don't know. I can't remember if Operation Mockingbird was still going on at the time. But, the CIA told the media, you need to push the narrative that people that are against the Vietnam War are conspiracy theorists. Push this. Push it. Push that term. And that shit stuck.
Yeah, that's true.
It's still relevant today.
Well, would definitely, when you say conspiracy theory, I feel like it probably puts a light on people's heads. Like, man, this is this show's going to go downhill quick, or something like that.
Well, if you think about any character from a movie that you've seen ever in your life, and they say this guy's a conspiracy theorist, he is liable to drink his own pee in that movie because he's so crazy,
right?
And so it'll just come out of nowhere sometimes. But a lot of people get turned off by that term. But it's coming around. That's why they've had to pick up this whole fake news term that they've been pushing since the election.
You were telling me, we were talking about that briefly about like Pizzagate and fake news and all that sort of thing. Can you just shed a little bit of light for our listeners there on like what that was all about, I guess?
Well, not to get too much into Pizzagate thing because that's still going out, but I think a lot of people on the internet found some Hillary Clinton emails,
right,
where John Podesta.
I think I've heard about that.
Yeah. But John Podesta was emailing a bunch of people, and there was all these supposed code words. Could have been about drugs. Could have been about anything. But the fact that the media is pushing back so hard on the story, calling it fake news, and at the same time, the fact that there are pockets of child trafficking, and it just blows my mind that they're just dismissing this like it's nothing.
I think that's the biggest part about like Pizzagate. Whether anybody wants to explore the avenue of whether something is a conspiracy theory or if the word pizza was code word for one thing or another. I think the most important thing that has come out of that is just simply the fake news idea or government sanctioned news being released. That is, 1984 very much, it's basically like the editing of the information that we're allowed to have.
Right. And it's going to get to that point where the government will be able to say what is true or not within the media, and be able to have the power to shut down websites and stuff to where you won't even be able to access alternative media,
Right.
So the whole fake news term is basically a catalyst for that ultra censorship.
Right.
To where we won't be able to have this conversation on your podcast. We won't be able to talk about Pizzagate because, whatever algorithms listen to this MP3 will say, oh, they talk about Pizzagate in this thing. So you'll get this message back saying, oh, this podcast has been denied. Please edit this bullshit out. Facebook already has that fake news
filter of some sort.
Exactly. And this article has been marked for fake news, and it's like fake Facebook. Who are you to tell me what the hell fake news is, So it's setting a really, really dangerous precedent. And the fact that the government and the media, not just the news, but comedians, you can watch Saturday Night Live, Stephen Colbert, any show, they are all pushing fake news. So
yeah, and ultimately it's the pushing of a censorship. And I think from our background, like kind of like maybe I don't know if it's hand in hand, like you like punk rock music, so you have like kind of like anti-establishment type mentality, or you might have an anti-establishment type mentality, and maybe that's why you get drawn to, like, you know, enjoying punk rock music in the first place. But ultimately, I feel like that, you know, without getting too deep into it, that's the ultimate thing, is we need to make sure that we have the ability to keep an open mind about anything and see both sides of the coin from any scenario.
Exactly.
Because if your perspective is the size of a golf ball, you're only going to see that much of the world. You'd be going through the world with blinders on.
Exactly.
You know?
And the thing is, why are they so mad about it right now? Why are they pushing it right now? When Obama was running, they called him a Muslim born in Africa. Where's your birth certificate? Where was the fake news push then?
Right.
So it's like being a quote unquote conspiracy theorist and paying attention to the news, and watching CNN, these news programs, not to get information, but to see what they're up to,
right?
And seeing what narrative they're pushing. It's different right now. The fake news push is completely different than anything that I've seen through the media, and it kind of scares me a little bit.
I will tell you this: if the fake news media, fake news, if government, if you're listening, there's a website called The Onion. It has tricked me one too many times.
Right.
That is 100% fake news.
Yep.
Please start your man.
Right.
No, The Onion is hilarious.
I follow this guy named this page called Fappy, the anti-masturbation dolphin, on Facebook.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Fappy, the anti-masturbation dolphin. And he'll always post like articles from like abcnews.com.co. And these websites look like the actual websites, but it's like Donald Trump caught masturbating on a bus or something like that, you know? But,
perfect.
Yeah. So if anybody out there, I'm not getting paid by Fappy, the anti-masturbation dolphin, but check out Fappy, the anti-masturbation dolphin. It's a good source of crazy stuff.
I'd like to think that maybe you're making money on the side as Fappy, the dolphin.
Yeah, going to Disney World as Fappy.
How did I get all this Disney World money? Well, I've got a side project.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, yeah, I agree. It's definitely, no matter how you slice it, I feel like it's definitely a strange and exciting time to be alive in many ways. Things are definitely changing, some for the good, hopefully for the good.
Yeah, there's a little bit, but I think the bad, as in going into an authoritarian regime such as, I mean, it's set up for Donald Trump perfectly. He didn't have to do anything. Patriot Act allows the president or the government to spy on everybody at any time. They repealed the, I can't remember the name of the act, but they repealed the no propaganda on American citizens recently. They repealed that, so you don't know if what you're watching on the news is true or not, if it's force-fed from the government. And Obama just pushed through the whole fake news, we can take down stuff. So it's all nice and set up for Donald Trump and his craziness and his authoritarianism to really do whatever the hell he wants and turn this place into North Korea or something like that, which, you know, they got legal weed. That's the one selling point on North Korea for me, is they got legal pot.
Well, I think California does too, right?
Right. But if we got to find a silver lining about North Korea, legal pot. Apparently they smoke tough in North Korea. They smoke tough. And it helps to forget that, you know,
that they live in North Korea.
Yeah, they got no food. Yeah.
Should not laugh about that. But yes, you are absolutely 100%.
So if you listen to this and you don't know nothing about no fake news, check it out. Jay Blaze says it's a dangerous precedent they're setting right now.
That's true. The way I look at it, though, I've kind of made just an observation. You know, when I think pretty much anybody can maybe look at certain things in the past, whether it's, you know, the most typical thing, JFK or aliens or something like that, and maybe say, you know what, we didn't get the full story on this. Right. So, I mean, even with this election, like with some of the stuff that that came out, you know, maybe now people will realize, or can at least admit to themselves, like, well, you know, we didn't get the full story on that either.
And if it wasn't for WikiLeaks, I mean, who knows, you know, what we would have found out before, you know? I mean, they released those emails where it shows that the DNC was colluding with Hillary Clinton to make sure that she won. Everything was set up for her to win. And a lot of people like to blame the Russians right now. The Russians hacked Hillary Clinton, or what was the guy's name? The FBI director. God, what was his name? The guy that dropped that bomb, James Comey.
Sounds.
Yeah, he dropped that bombshell. Like, we're reinvestigating the emails like a week before the election. Everybody's like, oh, that's why she lost. No, she lost because the DNC lost the election for her. If you want to blame anybody for the fact that Donald Trump is president, you blame the DNC, because the numbers were out in January. They polled the American people, Trump versus Bernie and Trump versus Hillary. And in every poll, Bernie Sanders won 10, 15, 20 points sometimes. And in every poll, Hillary Clinton was neck and neck with Donald Trump and lost sometimes.
Right.
So it doesn't make any, well, I guess it does make sense in the fact that there's a lot of money behind Hillary Clinton. But if they really wanted to win, they did it the wrong way. And then when she won the nomination, she should have picked Bernie as a running mate. If she would have picked Bernie as a running mate, she would have won the election. But she couldn't connect with people. It wasn't the Russians' fault. The Russians didn't even have anything to do with WikiLeaks.
Right.
So they're just a bunch of crybabies. And I feel bad for the American people, because crazy shit might be happening soon with Donald Trump. But I don't feel bad for Hillary Clinton one bit.
And that is Jay Blaze. That's his side of the story.
Yeah.
So if you guys have a different side of the story, I want you to comment about it, and we'll just talk about it. But that's what I like about the podcast. I want to have people on here and discuss their interests. Mm-hmm. And it is interesting. Like, and I feel another thing, just to kind of add, you were mentioning earlier that you've been watching Westworld.
Oh, yeah.
So no spoilers here on this one.
Yep.
But I will say, in Westworld, these people with money are able to go to this theme park and live out their wildest
inner carnal fantasies through a cowboy world.
Mm-hmm. And whether that is being good and straight-laced and doing the straight and narrow, or that is being, the raping and pillaging and slaughtering of people. And in that show, it's kind of like a morality story, like if no one was there to, it's like if no one was policing you, what would you do? Like, what's your carnal instinct?
Right.
And I feel like with some of these things where people will talk about these people of power do these malicious things or these like unspeakable things. Well, if you think about it, like if you had all the money and the connections in the world, mm-hmm. who's going to stop you? Like a justice system might not stop you, especially if you're connected to that person and you give them $1 million or however many.
And
$1 million.
A lot of people say that, that these guys are so rich, the Rockefellers or the Rothschilds or whoever you want to put out there.
It's the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, they're so rich. They got all this money. What do they need more money for? And it's not the fact that they're after money. Money at that point, once you have billions of dollars, money is irrelevant. It doesn't exist anymore for you. You can buy the world over if you want to, for the most part. It's about power. It's about being able to do whatever you want and control people.
Right.
But if they're listening, we cool, man. We
cool, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. What can you say?
Hey, what can you say? You just got to talk now. That's the thing. Talk while you can.
Yeah, that's true, man. It's a free country, so
it's great because it used to be that being a conspiracy theorist, in the days after 9/11, you were crazy. The Patriot Act isn't going to take our rights away. Of course, they found a passport from one of the hijackers on the ground after the plane hit the Twin Towers. True story. Look it up. Of course that happened. There's no reason to doubt that, but that's crazy, But nowadays, people are waking up to it.
I feel like that's true. I feel like just a general questioning of what, not basically taking everything at face value,
right,
and just thinking for 2 seconds about what it is
mm-hmm.
that we're actually being given. And I think, like I said, it's an exciting time. People are, I don't know if we're doing everything the best we can. I mean, history, hindsight, everything will be 20/20, but I feel like we're at a time right now where people are really wanting to come together. People are wanting to have the equality for any minority or any religion or any sexuality or gender and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
Or anybody that feels oppressed. And there's 1,000 different words for everything now. And like everybody has a place at the table, it seems like. At least that's what I feel like maybe people our age are really pushing.
Right.
And I'm hoping that, at least there's something good that comes of that.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say hopefully we're doing it the right way is I know if anybody's on social media hardly anymore, one person's opinion, there's always going to be that rebuttal immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And it almost like drives a wedge in bringing people together.
Right.
It's like separates us.
And you can't have a real conversation through Facebook or Twitter or anything. You can't have this one-on-one. You can't look at somebody in their eyes and, see the truth in them, or, see the fear in somebody's eyes when they're spouting all this hate and stuff. Because, I was talking about it with my younger brother earlier, is a lot of racism doesn't actually stem from hatred. It stems from insecurities and the unknown.
Right.
It's like you live in the country and you've never seen any black people, right?
Right.
But you've seen NWA and Boys in the Hood. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You're familiar with that.
Yeah, and you're scared, Your ignorance of the other side, it really drives that fear. And fear is such a negative, it's the base negative feeling, and hate and everything flows through the fear, So it's as long as we can.
Fear is the mind killer, man.
Yeah.
They say that in Dune. That's a great line.
Yeah.
So,
and if, like you said, bringing people together. I read this story the other day. There was I wish I remember his name. There was an old blues singer that has gone around and talked to over 200 KKK members. I
didn't get a chance to look into it in depth, but I did see some posts regarding it.
And he's helped change the minds and even had some KKK members quit. And I read that and I was like, that's makes total sense. And even the people in the KKK, the former KKK members, even came out and said, I had never known a black person really intimately until I met you, and you have really opened my eyes to what I was missing out on, So, yeah, if we can figure out how to stem the gap, or what is it? I don't know.
Mind the gap?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Bridge the gap.
Bridge the gap.
That's
if we can figure out how to bridge the gap through social media, everybody's talking about having that conversation. We can now have that conversation. We are able to have the race conversation through the internet because we're all linked together.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and history repeats itself, right? There's a reason why that's
I have heard that.
In, what was it, the 1700s, right, in Virginia, the slaves and the poor whites were starting to really get along.
Right.
They were starting to work together, and there was a revolt that was a brewing, if I can use old terms. It was a brewing, a revolt. And the old slave masters obviously did not want the slaves and the whites to join together because they knew that together they would end the slavery in Virginia. So the slave masters got together and said, hey, we need to do something about this. So they started, I guess if you want to even use the fake news, they started putting fake news out there to the white people. Black, these N-words do this, these N-words do that, and watch out, they're going to rape your family and stuff. And it worked. The tide turned, and they were able to keep them under their thumb. You know what I'm saying?
That's that propaganda at work right there.
Yeah, and it worked back then, and it can work, and it works today.
Yeah.
Because they understand, they know, and it's even on one of the flags. It's not on the flag, but united we stand, divided we fall.
Right.
And they understand how powerful that is, and that's why their number one priority is to keep Americans divided. Think about this presidential election. It was basically 50-50. If you want to have a barometer on how split the country is, just look at...
A Barack Obama-meter?
Yeah, look at that Barack Obama-meter. That's a tough one to say. I'm glad I got that out. But yeah, 50-50, right down the middle. That is a country with two sets of base ideals that just can't mix together, So yeah, whatever they're doing, it's working.
And also in division, there's a certain, well, obviously, yeah, divided we fall, but there's weakness in that. If you were one guy with one gun and you had to face 30 people head on,
Right.
you might not have a fighting chance. But if you faced, them one at a time, Bruce Lee style, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? If you Bruce Lee them one at a time, you got a fighting chance in that division.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
but we got to come together, and I'm hoping social media. I've realized just recently, and I don't want to speak in generalities, but just from what I've noticed, it is kind of, like I said, it is kind of dividing us, even though we have good intentions and things like that. So I don't know, maybe just
Because there's no blowback for what you say.
that's true. There's no consequence.
You can say whatever you want, and you might get fired if you take something too far, and your boss finds out that you called a bunch of people the N-word.
Right.
If they find out, but it's like you can say whatever you want, and nobody's going to walk up, punch you in the face.
Right.
It's like freedom of speech. Yeah, you got freedom of speech, but I also have the freedom to come back and punch you in the face. I might possibly go to jail for it, but if you press charges on me punching you in the face for saying some heinous shit, well, then you are a bitch. And I'm exercising my freedom of speech too.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm hoping that as we kind of go along, I'm hoping social media. Now, this is just my hope of hope. I'm hoping it'll be a fad, much like MySpace came and went, and certain other, Friendster came and went, and
Right.
certain things like that, and people check out. I'm hoping that just as a group of people, and I've talked to a lot of people, they're like, maybe I'm not going to get on Facebook so much. Maybe
Right.
I'm going to put my phone down a little bit. It's become a
A burden.
a burden, yeah, and it's become like a distraction and,
Yeah.
and an obstacle that you got to overcome. Like,
Right.
maybe if we just sit down and turn off our computer and turn off our TV and put our phones in our pockets and sit
Put
down
them
and
on
have
airplane mode.
put it on airplane mode and just sit down and find somebody and have a good conversation, make a good friend.
Right.
Sit down and
But then they got to turn their phone off too.
they have to
You know
turn their
what I'm
phone off
saying?
too, because that would be very rude.
Right.
Okay.
I'll say that's wishful thinking, though. Have you heard of what they're doing in China with the what is it? It's basically Facebook with a score attached to it. And have you watched Black Mirror?
It's like, you're mentioning Black Mirror. People have been telling me you got to see Black Mirror, and I
Yeah.
hear about this where it's like a rating and a score. There's actually an episode of Community, if you ever watched Community,
Oh, yeah, okay.
where they have an app, and everyone's on it, and you can rate this person using what are called MeowMeowBeenz. And you can have 0 to 5 MeowMeowBeenz. And in the episode, the man with the 5 MeowMeowBeenz is like the hottest guy on campus, like the coolest guy ever.
Right.
But, when these people that interact with him and he's got such a big ego and a big head, they are like, oh, well, this guy's a jerk. We're going to downvote his MeowMeowBeenz. So the king has fallen, and he gets down to like 1 MeowMeowBeen.
Right. Then what are you going to do with one Meow Bean?
That's true. What are you going to do?
But it is kind of like that Black Mirror episode, but it's not as funny, probably at all.
Probably, I would say Black Mirror. Last time I checked, not a comedy.
Yeah.
More social commentary.
Definitely. But yeah, they got the actual thing that they're developing in China, where it's basically that. You get assigned a score, and how good are you, and how obedient of a person are you towards the party? You know,
for those of you listening in China, if Sean vs. Wild podcast is available, please give me 5 MeowMeowBeenz.
Right.
And make sure to subscribe on iTunes.
Yep.
I need the MeowMeowBeenz, guys.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great system to keep people in line. So if you are on that score-based system in China, make sure you subscribe to Sean vs. Wild
And get the MeowMeowBeenz,
it'll
dude.
increase your
Give
score.
up the beans. Give up the beans, bro. Hey, it's kind of like a credit score,
Right?
which I always get an email. It's like, hey, you checked your credit score. That's bad. You checked
Yeah.
it more than once. And I was like, oh, dang.
Yeah,
Forgot
your
about
credit
that.
score has gone down because you looked at it. Like, what the hell? Are you serious?
I didn't know what these documents. This national treasure.
It's like, sorry, your dick got smaller because you looked at it. It's like, what the fuck? How did that happen?
But all right, guys. Well, and we could just talk on and on and on, and maybe in the future, I would like to have you on again and just dedicate, I think people have got the idea about your interest outside of the band, and that's what I like to portray. I mean, everybody that plays music sits down, talks about their music, but what is it that is the human side of you?
I don't know if I want to call conspiracy theories my interest. I think it's more of a obsession with knowing what's going on. You want to talk about interests? Old school video games. Now, give me your top 5 real quick.
Top 5 favorite old school video games.
Yeah.
What system do you want to go? Any system. Okay. Castlevania 4 for Super Nintendo.
Oh, Super Castlevania?
Yes, Super Castlevania 4.
Yeah.
Rocket Knight Adventures for Sega Genesis.
Right.
Love that game.
Yep.
I was such a I'm into such nerdy puzzle games and stuff like that. So probably Fire and Ice for regular NES.
Okay.
Standard NES. Chrono Trigger, Super Nintendo.
Yep.
It's a great game. And I'm not a big RPG guy, so
that one was revolutionary.
This one's not vintage, but just an absolutely fantastic game. Vintage enough, I guess. It came out. No, it's not vintage. It didn't come out 25 years ago or plus. But BioShock. I love BioShock.
Yeah,
for
BioShock's great.
Xbox and PlayStation.
Oh, hell
3.
yeah.
PS3 is I'm strictly a vintage video gamer for those out there listening, and so I love NES. I've got 400 NES games. I've just got a cool brag.
Hey, that's a cool brag right there, bro. For real.
Super Nintendo, Sega, I collect a lot of that, but PS3 over the years has become one of my favorite systems of all time. The games that they put out, and just the PlayStation specific games.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is a system that's really got it figured out with Uncharted and God of War and Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls and
Dude, I was so mad when I got my PS4 and found out it wasn't backwards compatible with PS3. I was like, Sony, what are you doing?
What are you doing? I have them both hooked up. Literally, my PS3 sits on top of my PS4.
I own you right now until you good games come out.
Until you are backwards compatible,
Yeah.
sir. And they're like, well, you can have this PlayStation Network thing where you're just streaming video games. I'm like, no.
I don't do that. I want to put a disc in.
My internet is so spotty here at the house, I would never be able to play anything.
Right.
So,
let me give you my top 5 real quick.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's your top 5?
Red Dead Redemption, if I want to put something new in there. Red Dead Redemption. Final Fantasy 3, 6, whatever you want to call it, for the Super Nintendo. I played that through a bunch of times. And then, Final Fantasy 1. I know, I mean, super basic, but I remember when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, the game had just come out. And I had, my mom rented it from one of the video stores around the corner, and I said, oh, man, I want to get this game. And my mom was like, listen, if you can turn all these D's into B's and A's, I will get you this Final Fantasy. And I was like, okay, I'll start paying attention in class. So I got A's and B's, and I got that Final Fantasy. And that's great. So that's 3. Oh, my God. Balloon Fight.
Balloon Fight is classic.
Fight.
Classic two-player action.
God, right? Because it's what's
it's
that?
Joust.
Joust. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So Balloon Fight, and then if I got to pick another Super Nintendo, because Super Nintendo's my jam. Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart and Super Nintendo.
Super Mario RPG. We didn't mention that one.
Yeah, right.
That was a good one.
So good because they was rendered CGI graphics put into it. Oh man. Oh yeah.
And I will tell you what, honorable mention, and it probably would be on my list, but if my NES is my standard NES is where my main collection lies, and the game that I felt was super overlooked for me as a kid, and you can buy it for $5 or less anywhere you go. If you find it, pick it up, is a copy of Star Tropics. Have you ever played Star Tropics?
Yeah. I beat it.
If you ever RPG, if you're kind of into Zelda, if you're kind of into whatever, it's a fantastic game. It's well worth the $5.
Right. Or the download off of emuparadise.net. Which they're not paying me, or ROM Nation.
I don't think they're paying anyone. Those are emulator websites, guys. I can look at those emulators because I own the cartridge.
Yeah, Star Tropics was great though.
Absolutely fantastic.
Star Tropics 2, not so much.
Not so great.
Yeah,
not as it's like Zelda 2.
Yeah,
and some people say Zelda 2 is great. I could never.
I'm actually playing through Zelda 2 on my PSP emulator, Zelda 2, and I got really far, and then I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Because it's just if I didn't have the ability to rewind the game in game and save it wherever I wanted to, I'd have thrown my PSP out the window like within 30 minutes of playing that game because it sucks. It does, but I felt like it was a personal mission to beat that game so I could tell people. But I can't sit here and tell you that I beat that game because I gave up. I gave up right at the end.
And guys out there listening, just to wrap up this podcast, just so you know, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, it's attainable unless it's Zelda 2. Then you just give up.
Yeah. Then screw you for trying, right?
For trying.
Yeah.
All right. And Johnny, where can people find the Whiskey Writers online? Where can people find your
you can find us on thewhiskeywriters.com. You can buy all our stuff at eastwoodrecords502.com. Shout out to Eastwood Records, Wes Allen, Brian Fife, Zane Hilton, my boys in the Whiskey Writers, G. Kelly, Matt Canoy, Johnny White Wolf Cox. We can also find us on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the YouTubes, Twitter. Not so much on Twitter. We don't really care about Twitter.
I'm the worst at Twitter.
I mean, why tweet? Better. I mean, there's no reason to tweet unless somebody randomly finds you. You know?
See my full thoughts on Facebook.
Right. But yeah, and then we got a couple really cool videos coming out over the next 4 or 5 months, and we're going to be going back into the studio, and by studio I mean we're going to record it ourselves, but we're going to be working on an EP in May.
The studio apartment.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it for us today here at the Sean vs. Wild podcast. Thank you, everybody, for liking.
And Sean, I just want to say one thing real quick.
What?
You're awesome, dude, and this is great.
You're awesome,
I'm so happy that you got iTunes, like, official.
iTunes official? I'm on Stitcher now. So
Hey.
things are moving up, man. I'm on pretty much any of your favorite podcatchers. So check it out on iTunes. Like, subscribe, hit that 5-star MeowMeowBeenz rating.
Yeah. You think if we high five, they'll hear it and it'll come through in majestical power?
They're definitely going to hear it. All right, guys.